Welcome to Nothing Finer. I'm your host, Rick Beach, along with Austin Island. Georgia coming off a 63-17 win over Murray State. Pretty much what we all expected to come of that game. Georgia thoroughly dominated them, over 500 total yards, split it up pretty good with a 290 passing, 260 rushing. Austin, anything stand out to you?
No, just what we all wanted to see, just more offensive production. George Pickens finally getting his hands on the ball. Zamir White scoring first touchdown, looked real good. Real physical guy. Got to be on the way of taking Brian Arians' job. I mean, there's just no way around it. So, but its defense looked great again. The total ended up being 17 for Murray State, but one of those was a pick six by Stetson.
Yeah.
The other one was a field goal gave up by the cleanup crew. So
the touchdown was
just
play.
It was just and that was kind of what their game's predicated on, real quick passing game, and then they try and get it out quick to the middle of the field and then make somebody miss to where there's no safety help behind. So what they want to do is dump off quick, get it in the receiver's hands, and then try and get the receiver to just take off, which is what happened.
Yeah.
Mark Webb spun off the tackle, and
Yeah, speaking of Mark Webb, he did lead the team of tackles for the second week in a row, and he caused the fumble that was recovered by J.R. Reed, returned for a touchdown. So I feel he made up for that. He missed the tackle that led to a touchdown, but he still had a good game altogether. It was real hot, but it was still a sold-out crowd, packed house.
Yep.
It was, I was impressed with the Georgia crowd yet again. Sitting in the sun for that long, the Dooley Field ceremony that's pretty neat, and felt he deserved to have that a while back. But it's pretty neat having that whole ceremony go on.
Oh, yeah.
But seeing George Pickens, get his first touchdown, then seeing the catches he made, both of them on the outside, the one with the one-handed, where he held it out from the defender. Then, of course, the layout catch. Mm-hmm. Zeus getting there. And I was also impressed with Nolan Smith, just the bull rush that he showed. And to get I think he had 1.5 sacks.
Yeah, great upper body strength he showed on that, which is pretty impressive.
That's freakish, and he's 18, so it's only going to get better from here. But also the competition's going to get better from here. So you're looking at that.
Well, playing a game like that's all about building confidence. I mean, because the level of athleticism won't be the same when we're playing at Auburn, or you're playing at Florida, or you're playing at whoever. But if you can do it in a college football game at any level, you can do it. I mean, you see Nolan Smith, you see how he's built. He'll keep doing that. He'll do that to somebody he's not supposed to do that to.
Well, he's the number one player for a reason coming out of high school. So I mean,
he'll end up embarrassing some offensive linemen who's supposed to be really good. That's
So really, there ain't much else we could say about the Murray State game going in. Well, also, before we take a look around the SEC in week 2, I want to say if you're on YouTube, go ahead, subscribe. And, we really need to get these subs up some more. We're having a pretty good last few weeks, so go ahead and subscribe. The SEC, after having a pretty rough week.
Make sure y'all hit the like button, too. It's important that y'all hit the like button. It's good for the analytics. When YouTube sees that people are liking the videos, it pushes it out to more and more people. So if y'all could like and subscribe, that'd be great.
So when you get week 1, as rough as it was with the SEC to some people, week 2, a bunch of cupcakes. But it was another, just domination throughout. Except we'll go back up to Rocky Top again. They had a pretty good size lead in the fourth quarter. Thoroughly running through them pretty good. Then late in the game, they forced a punt. They got BYU pinned back with no timeouts, and they managed to blow that, give up, the late score to force the overtime. So you're looking now 0-2, first time since '88 for Tennessee to be 0-2. How hot's the seat getting on Jeremy Pruitt right now?
It's on fire. He might want to get off of it because it might burn him.
I mean, they're looking at 1-6 right now. They're really looking at a 1-6 start.
I'm just going to say it's over with. I don't care what he does from this point. It should. If I'm Philip Fulmer, or if I'm whoever's above, if I'm the president, it's over with. I might clean house and get rid of Philip Fulmer too, because
they ain't gonna get rid of Philip Fulmer.
Well, at some point you got to. At some point you got to let go of this fantasy of Philip Fulmer, and you got to just let him go. You got to move on. I mean, people love Vince Dooley. People love Vince Dooley, but when Greg McGarity came along, then we made the move, and you know what I'm saying?
Well, that was different because we had Damon Evans. He got the DUI and all that situation, and we went to McGarity, who still gets a lot of flack for some reason being the AD.
Every AD is going to get flack.
So Philip Fulmer, his first hire was Pruitt. We know that wasn't his first choice.
Yeah.
I still think Mel Tucker was their choice they really wanted, but Rocky Top's a hard situation. People say who wouldn't want to coach there because they are a historically great team. But here lately in the last 20, college football's kind of changed. Alabama got back into the forefront.
Yeah.
Georgia's getting back up there. Auburn's and it revolves around Atlanta. Tennessee used to dominate coming to Atlanta and getting these great players, and they haven't been able to do that. And the teams that are, you see at the top. So as good as Tennessee used to be with the new way of football, I don't see it being that job like it used to be that job. And there's other schools that are in that same boat. Nebraska used to be the job to get, and it's not there no more. You know, the way the college football layout is, Tennessee's become this word. And getting rid of Fulmer in 2008 was a big mistake.
Yeah.
They thought they wanted to do it. He had a winning record, won the SEC East year before. They go ahead and fire him, and they got Lane Kiffin, and it was a good hire. I think Lane Kiffin was great at Tennessee. They beat Georgia the 1 year he was there. They went to a bowl game, but since he left, that place has just been on fire. They brought Pruitt in, and I'm not going to lie, I had a lot of faith in Jeremy Pruitt. I thought he was going to turn him around. I thought he was going to have them heading in the right direction. And really what it's done, I thought Florida was falling back to Tennessee, and I think they fell back to where Tennessee was, but Tennessee done fell off the map.
Yeah.
And now you look at the East, news coming out from week 2, Kentucky quarterback, Terry Wilson, he's out with a knee injury for the rest of the season.
That was who I was starting to lean towards as being the
this game this
biggest
weekend.
threat, you know, Kentucky being able to come in and finish second in the East again.
Yeah.
Which I still feel like they can. I think it would have been nice for them to still have Gunnar Hope, you know, but.
Well, I mean, he went to Ohio State. You bring in, I thought they were going to be able to hang with Florida this weekend, possibly beat them up in Lexington.
Yeah.
Now looking at it, I think Florida is going to be able to go in there and get the victory.
Yeah.
And
well, no Benny Snell and no touchdown Terry, then
their offense is totally different from last year.
Now.
Then you look at the defensive side of the ball, losing Allen on defense.
Yeah.
They just
losing Allen.
It's hard to come back from where they're at. And I thought Kentucky's been able to, with coaching, could hang in there for the East. So now it looks like it's going to be Georgia, Florida for the East, which most people expected.
Yeah.
But I don't see Florida being in that same class as where Georgia's at because of recruiting, because of coaching. But man, the East really, for all the momentum we had last year,
it's gone.
Is all gone.
But I don't mind that.
No, as a Georgia fan,
it's the
you don't mind.
Well, a lot of Georgia fans seem to do. They seem to care a lot about what the rest of the East is doing and why ain't they good and why, you know, we got to have a good strength of schedule. Well, I don't care about none of that because why would we, when the new proven formula seems to be,
win.
You know, if you're a team like Clemson, you play in the weakest conference in America, and all you got to do is win. Just show up.
If Georgia wins, it don't matter who we play.
Exactly.
Now, we know in the future these schedules are going to get a lot tougher with these non-conference
Well, that's why
games.
we're bolstering the non-conference, you know.
Yeah, but with inside the conference, it seems, you know, Tennessee, if they fire Pruitt, then they go right back to another rebuild.
Yeah.
They have to get new players to come in. And, you know, the cupboard was bare when he got there. So I kind of feel they'll give him another year unless the wheels completely come off in this 1-11 type season. But they played good against BYU, considering they could have came out and laid down after what happened with Georgia State. So can they turn it around? And 6-6, doubtful looking at their schedule. But they could be competitive some games, maybe pull off some upsets. You know, but the upsets would be like a Mississippi State who comes up to Knoxville in a few weeks.
Yeah.
You know, something, or beat Vanderbilt. They ain't done that in 4 or 5 seasons. They could still get to that level. But as far as them having 8-9 wins, that's out the window. Competing for the second in the East, that's out the window.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe they can still get Florida a game in a couple weeks, but I just don't see it with how the momentum's going up there. And if Pruitt can get to 6-6, it'd be one of the greatest coaching turnarounds in the season, considering how horrible this year started. But with their coaching that they had, I never saw this coming. And on the other side of the conference, LSU goes into Texas, beats them.
Yeah, look good.
Look real good.
Looked good.
You know, we haven't seen what Alabama had yet. We ain't seen, you know, so we're trying to line up. Alabama played with New Mexico State, 62. I think they had
62-10.
62-10, yeah. And you know, fans really wasn't out in full force at that game like you saw over in Athens.
Yeah.
And I really think Alabama fans are kind of waiting on these non-conference games to change for them, to where they can get somebody. And I heard Saban after the game, they play who wants to play them.
Yeah, that's a big line of baloney is what that is.
You know, a lot of teams would line up to play Alabama.
That's a big line of baloney. Nick's trying to feed us to get us to believe that nobody wants to play him, which, first of all, is just like you said, there's plenty of teams that
would take that shot. Because, I mean, you'd like to have a shot at them.
And the thing is there's plenty of teams that would, but Nick doesn't want to go play them in their house.
Right.
He only wants a neutral site. or he only wants him to come to Tuscaloosa.
Right.
He's trying to protect his team, which is whatever. But, as you can see, Georgia ain't scared to go play anywhere. I mean, we'll be going to Los Angeles in a couple of years here.
We get Oklahoma,
all over the place.
Oklahoma in 2 years. We'll be at UCLA the year after that.
Home and home with Clemson coming up. So
yeah, I mean, you got home and home with Texas, Florida State, Oklahoma, and UCLA coming up over the next and that's 4 teams in the next decade we're doing home and homes with. Then we got neutral site with Clemson, Oregon, and Virginia next year. Virginia could be in the New Year's Six Bowl this year.
Oh yeah,
they got a pretty Bronco, the coach, doing a real good job. Yeah. So they're building up to being a pretty good team. Is that meaning that they're going to be an ACC competitor next year for the championship? I don't know. A lot's leaving, but Georgia's showing
they might be on for this year. I mean, the way Miami just lost again. So
yeah, North Carolina to me is the surprise of the whole country.
Yeah.
They got a freshman quarterback, a head coach that's been out of football for 5 seasons, and they're 2-0 with wins over Power 5 schools with Miami and South Carolina. So it ain't like they're knocking off, a Sun Belt team, which Tennessee couldn't even do. They've come out here.
Well, it's not like when Mac Brown got out of the game, he couldn't coach. Mac Brown's always been a good coach, kind of like Bobby Bowden. When you get older, you lose a step recruiting.
Well,
and that's what pushes schools to move away from the older guys, because when you start losing the step recruiting, then they got to move in a different direction.
And it's the same voice. He's been at Texas long enough where it's just the same voice.
Yeah.
And we saw it with the younger version with Mark Richt, who was only in his 50s when that was happening at Georgia, become kind of the CEO. And I think that happened with Mac Brown. He lost his touch with the current team, and that did start hurting recruiting. It didn't help him that A&M went to the SEC.
Yeah.
And Johnny Manziel happened.
Rules the state of Texas,
they started competing a lot bigger, and that kind of hurt him. But Tom Herman's really a good coach. We saw that in the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
We saw that this weekend. They hung with LSU for the most part, but LSU could be a problem coming out of the West. I think they can compete with Alabama. Hard to say that. Sometimes you'll see Alabama not really have a competitive game.
Yeah.
Then I know where you think they're going to give you a game with somebody and they'll blow them out of the water.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say, but I will say LSU is going to compete with them this season.
Yeah. Well, that game was a lot of fun to watch. A lot of points scored, a lot more than I thought would be scored, which is kind of suspect to me, the way Sam Ehlinger kind of carved them up a little bit, which is not usually something he does very well.
Yeah. So you have to.
But I mean, we'll take it with a grain of salt, because I think it's hard to tell how good either of these teams are, besides the fact that we can markedly see at least an attempt to be more advanced play calling for LSU, which is good. But let's see him against an Alabama defense, before we say, all right, this is brand new LSU. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, you still got a few weeks, which LSU is going to have Auburn.
Because Texas lost a lot of pieces after the Sugar Bowl last year.
Yeah.
They had 2 running backs on scholarship. I mean, I don't care who you are. You can't beat LSU with 2 scholarship running backs only on your roster. The other running back they had, converted linebacker. So, you know what I mean?
So it's hard. We'll see LSU coming up before they get to Bama.
Yeah.
When they start playing, I think Mississippi State and Auburn.
Florida game and all.
Yeah, and then Florida LSU is going to be I think it'll be a good game.
That'll be a good tail sign of
it'll be a good
tell,
because we'll see where Florida, if they're as bad as I kind of see them, which they played Tennessee Martin and they did what you'd expect them to do with Tennessee Martin. But watch them against Miami. I will say week 1 is not always who you are. Your biggest improvement's week 1 to week 2. So Florida, as bad as they looked in week 1, it'll be interesting when we see them this weekend against Kentucky, and then we can start gauging. And then ourselves, watching Georgia, we really get to see where we're at next week with Notre Dame. Because, I mean, Murray State, then I'll say this with Arkansas State. They've played good, and I think they had a close
Arkansas
loss.
State is a jump up from Murray State. So
it's a big jump. Number
one,
it's
see a little bit more physicality.
It's an FBS team, Sun Belt Conference. They beat UNLV. They got a real high-powered offense. So it'll be a good test for our defense.
Yeah. I mean, it's only a few years removed from when Gus Malzahn was at Arkansas State with Michael Dyer. So, I mean,
they got the talent. They're not. And I hate going back beating the dead horse with Tennessee, but Georgia State was a 2-10 team last season.
Yeah.
Coming out, they're a bottom end of the Sun Belt. Yeah. And so you're coming in now, Arkansas State, who's, on pace to try to win the conference this year, wanting to win the conference with Troy and Appy State, Georgia Southern. Yeah. So you're putting them on there. And then you see what LSU did with Georgia Southern, like 55-3 in week 1. So you're hoping Georgia can, for us, we know what Georgia's going to do. They're going to try to get the run game going.
We're trying to do the same thing.
Try to work on some things. And it's not a practice, but it is a practice in a sense. And, the first half, they'll try to beat them, wear them out. Then in the second half, to try to work on the stuff, getting ready for the Notre Dame game.
Yeah.
And then we'll see where we're at. And hopefully after that bye week after Notre Dame, we'll be able to take off. So talking about Arkansas State, what are you looking forward to the most this weekend?
Just feeding Samir the ball, man. That's all I want.
More Zamir.
I just want to see more. I just want to see more. I'm craving it. It's like I don't know, man. It's so crazy to me just how similar he is to Noshawn, man. It really it's driving me wild. Just the way, and we was talking about it when we was sitting there Saturday, and we seen him hit the ground, and the way he just
pops up. He's got the Noshawn motor, but his body is like a Todd Gurley 2012. That it's a big body.
Yeah, he's tall.
He's real tall. He towers over the other running backs when you see him out there. But man, he does have that motor where he just once he gets on the field, he wants to
like
go.
Like when we was
go.
at the game Saturday, and he ran, and I looked away for 1 second to look at the scoreboard, and he was like, "Look, he's already back in the huddle." And I was like, "How?" He was like, "He teleported to the huddle." I don't, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I love to see, just the tenacity of that. And obviously, anytime they want to throw the ball to George Pickens, I'm gonna be watching with both eyes. So.
And the way after last season, Chaney's big knock was tight ends. Watching the tight ends this week, Eli Wolf had 4 catches, led the team in yards.
Yeah.
And so he had a real, over the middle. He was wide open. Now, the talent level is a little different, but he's showing he can get open, and Fromm just throwing it right over there. And we know Fromm's been the most disrespected quarterback his whole career in the SEC and probably the country. Yeah. So watching this weekend, 10 of 11.
They give Justin Herbert more love than Jake Fromm, and that ought to tell you something right there.
Because our running game is so good, it overshadows what the passing game can do.
Yeah.
And our passing game is going to be through the roof when we have a chance to show it on national stage, whether it be Notre Dame or whether it be Florida later in the season.
Yeah.
But, I just think with Fromm, they're just put him out there, let him get his reps like he would at practice.
Yeah.
Get him like a pitch count or a series count. He was out in the second quarter, put the ball cap on, and enjoy the game. So it's kind of –
yeah.
And I think this weekend he'll play a little longer.
And I just want to see all that on offense is great. And I also just want to see more havoc rate. I was impressed with the number of sacks we had. I think the biggest sack total in the Kirby Smart era, if I am getting that correctly. I'm pretty sure. But it was good because that team, Murray State, is designed to get the ball out super fast. So the fact that we were able to bull rush and get in there within 3 seconds and get these sacks before he had a chance to even dump it off.
Yeah.
That's what I like to see, because now when you go up against a team like Bama,
that stands
when
back.
we get there, and he's gonna be trying to take his time, and I think that's going to be able to allow us to get in there, and the guys like Nolan Smith, Jermaine Johnson, Azeez Ojolari played great again Saturday.
When you look at the scoop and score, it was a pass behind the line of scrimmage, a little. It was a tackle for loss by Webb, knocked the ball. I think Crowder got there first and held him
Crowder
up.
got in there.
Then Webb came in and knocked the ball loose. Then it went for the end zone. So they were behind the line of scrimmage all game. I think with Arkansas State will be the same.
Yeah.
But that's been since January, that's what Kirby's been preaching. Havoc, which it ain't always sacks. And we saw that Saturday.
I've talked about this a bunch on the podcast before, the way Tyler Clark shoots the gap, shoots upfield. We've seen him do that Saturday a few times.
Yeah.
Just straight up, just the blocker just standing there. He don't, and Tyler just shoots the gap and gets, penetrates, tackle for loss. That's havoc play. All right, havoc plays don't always happen on pass plays.
Yeah.
That's something people need to understand. When Tyler shoots that gap and tackles for loss on that little stretch play they was running,
creating havoc.
That's havoc.
When you got a run back that has to stop off his and turn and try to cut back the other way, you've created havoc.
You're getting there as the quarterback's hand into the running back.
Yeah. And Tyler Clark, we've known in the past he's kind of taken plays off.
Yeah.
He's gotten he's gotten lazy at times. But when he plays
Definitely.
all out, it's a money year. He's going to get drafted.
Yeah.
He knows it goes by that. They watch the film, and he's 2 weeks in. Vanderbilt and Murray State ain't the highest of competition you're going to see, but he's showing he's getting out there making plays. He's in the backfield all the time.
Yeah.
So I like Tyler Clark. I think he's going to have a big season. We talked about it all summer.
Yeah.
Is what we expected him to make that big jump and be that player causing all this disruption in the backfield, and that's what he did Saturday, and he did it against Vanderbilt. Now, any other games coming up this week? We know Kentucky and Florida is.
Yeah.
I think nationally the big game in the East, the SEC, and I think the whole country. That's the only real game. I think they're two ranked teams, and really with the injury to Terry Wilson, I don't see Kentucky being able to hang with Florida, even though we don't know what Florida really is, but I think they're going to be a lot better than a Kentucky team without Terry Wilson.
Yeah. I'm not even sure who they're going to be able to throw in at QB, but I do think not having Terry changes the game dramatically. But I still don't think Florida runs away with it. I think Mark Stoops will still have a squad playing straight, legit defense. So, I see a 10-point game maybe. But at the same time, it only takes a couple Felipe Franks
That's what I was about
being
to say.
Felipe Franks.
If he gets in his own way, he gets out there and starts these turnovers.
Yeah.
Because the thing about Mark Stoops, they're going to be in the right position.
Yeah,
He's going to have them, to be where they need to be on defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they're going to have enough offense if it becomes somewhat of a shootout.
Yeah.
If they'll have the offense to keep up with what Florida has the potential, because the speed at wide receiver at Florida is incredible. I give them credit on that. They got some speed at wide receiver. They can make plays on the outside, make a man miss and go. But if you're following your, ABCs of defense and you're doing what you're supposed to do, follow them fundamentals.
Oh, yeah.
I think they can hang with Florida.
Yeah.
Now, if they can finish, it took them 30 years to beat them.
Yeah.
Last
Go
year.
back to back.
So try to beat them back to back is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I'm just interested to see what Florida really has.
Yeah.
And I'm sure down in Gainesville they're excited next week to see where we're really at.
Yeah. Totally.
Next week we got the Notre Dame. It's Georgia Notre Dame. You got Auburn, Texas A&M,
Big game.
which we
never
saw
did talk
Auburn
about
against
that, yeah.
Oregon. Then we saw A&M against Clemson.
Yeah, that was A&M. Their defense did what all they could against what is a loaded Clemson
I think 24
offense.
points ain't bad. Giving up 24 to Clemson.
Yeah, that's
ain't-
what I'm saying. And they did pretty good. And if you give up 24 points to Clemson, you should have a chance to win. But offense just couldn't get nothing going. Kellen Mond, maybe he's just not quite there yet.
Yeah, I mean, you would expect Jimbo Fisher. And, them seven of that 10 came in the last 10 seconds or whatever at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So you're kind of thinking Jimbo Fisher getting this hype. He's making, $10 million a year?
Yeah.
So he should be able to put up more of a game than that. And Auburn, we saw them against Oregon in week 1 come back, win that game.
Mm-hmm.
They played Tulane this weekend, a 24-6 win, which is kind of a typical Auburn game
Yeah, it
when
was
they play these
sloppy
lower
at first.
teams. So it'll be interesting to see them. Then you got Tennessee, Florida next week.
Yeah.
So Florida's got a pretty good string of games coming up, and as do we and everybody else in the SEC finally getting out of this.
Getting into the meat of it now.
Yeah,
so.
well, getting out of these non-conference games, which for Georgia we get Georgia
more.
Tech locked in, so we get 3 non-conference games a year to choose from, and it's kind of we got them all at the beginning of the season this year. Then it's 7 straight SEC games. So that's pretty, to me, I like having the schedule laid out like that, just get them all knocked out, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, get them out of the way.
Rather than trying to play one that have a a non-conference team in between Tech and Auburn.
Yeah,
So-
that's good. I like that. Just, and hopefully I think we're going to start getting away from scheduling these kind of teams.
You're
at
going to
all.
have them. You're going to have 1 or 2 on the schedule every year. We got games in the future. East Tennessee State's coming in a couple of seasons.
Like, I just don't like none of that. I just don't like, it's just a waste of time.
But the smaller schools got to have it. I've said before,
Why do
I
they got to
wish we
have
did
it, though?
And I've said before, I think Georgia should play non-conference against Georgia teams, whether it be Mercer, Georgia State, Georgia Southern, any other teams in the, Kennesaw State now. And that way your money that you spend stays in-house. It stays in the state. I think Ohio State's done that before, playing Youngstown and some other teams around Ohio. Yeah. So I would like to see us do that. But I do understand it's a necessary evil to an extent. Now, having 3 teams that are...
But who's it a necessary evil for?
Well,
for the smaller teams.
Help the smaller teams out.
But who cares about them? We playing big-time college football. We want to play big-time college football teams.
Nick Saban said the other day he wanted to play 10 SEC teams and 2 Power 5 teams. In a perfect world, you would.
Yeah.
But these coaches understand they're not going to put their players through that. If there's a way they don't have to, they're going to. And it does help the smaller. And I don't mind helping the smaller teams out. When they come in, they get that check. It helps build their football programs up. Because only 120 FBS schools?
Yeah, 120.
So let's help out the guys that are FCS because that's only so many players. These other players need the opportunity to play in the big stage. They need the opportunity for the school to get the money. But when you play 3 of them in a season, it is kind of crap.
It's crap, dude.
And we got Georgia Tech. Florida has Florida State. South Carolina's got Clemson. So we kind of get lucky on that fact when Georgia Tech is playing good. Right now, it's just like having another another Arkansas State at the end of the season,
Yeah.
having Georgia Tech at the end of the season. So you're kind of looking at it.
To me, it's kind of just such a falsehood of college football, and I really can't stand it. It's just like, these kids who go to the league, they've got to play 16 games against the best football players in the world. And for me, I don't think, and I had a great time at the Murray State game. It was a lot of fun, but I just don't see why we should even waste our time with this. This is not, these reps don't mean anything. Because when you're just that much better than somebody, this rep don't. It's like me trying to guard George Pickens. That rep don't mean nothing to him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's nothing.
It's a glorified practice in front of 90,000 people.
Exactly.
That's all. We get more practice. Our ones against ones, of course, is going to be better off than this.
Yeah.
But our ones against ones are better than against Vanderbilt.
Oh,
it's better than what we're going to
absolutely.
see up on Rocky Top in a couple weeks. It's better than what we're going to see against Missouri.
Yeah.
Our ones on ones, and that's just like with Alabama. When they go one on one,
Yeah.
that's better than anybody else they're going to see until they play LSU. And so having a Murray State, I get it. That's the way college football is. You don't have a preseason. Coaches want to use that as a wiggle room, saying this get prepared for the season.
Well.
So whatever. I get it. It's a paycheck. That's the number one thing for the small schools. Makes me feel better is saying, here you go. Here's your check. Help your program out. Build you a weight room. Build you a jumbotron. Get your stadium where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Murray State has a stadium with one side. They don't even have two sides on their stadium.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's never going
to.
At the end of the day, it's never going to get any better than that. And the main reason is because you're Murray State. Nobody cares. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
we can help
care.
you out all we want, but it's like it's not going to matter because people are going to come watch us. They're going to watch Ohio State. They're not going to watch you. Period.
We've showed before. UGA is going to sell out G-Day.
Yeah.
So it don't matter who Georgia plays. It's going to be a sellout. It's going to be a packed house, and you're not going to see tickets for $6 like you did over in Tuscaloosa. That's all the time we got this week. We're going to look at it on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, do all that good stuff. We need to get some love on YouTube going. On Twitter, please follow the show at NothingFinerPod. You go to Facebook.com/NothingFinerPod. We got the website. You can get some of the podcasts before we started doing the YouTube.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the OG stuff. NothingFinerPod.com. If you got any kind of comments you want to leave on the email, we got a comment section. We got a meet the crew section. We got all kind of cool stuff on there. I like the website, but like I said, it's the OG. It's got stuff from way back when. Good weekend, big turnout. I expect another big turnout in Athens this weekend, even though it's Arkansas State.
It's supposed to be a little cooler, so hopefully.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in the lower 90s. It was extremely hot this week. But we'll see you next week. God bless. Go Dogs.
Out in the woods you'll find me, somewhere out under, fishing in a creek where there ain't nobody, no trespassing allowed. I live off the land with a pencil dip in and a gun in my hand, that's where you'll find me.